This example is for candle making again, but it's more useful than the previous example because it allows you to configure the length and diameter of the candle, and it gives you options like fragrance. So it's more in line with what you would have in a real manufacturing business. You would just set it up once and use it as a subcomponent in probably all the candles your company makes. So again, it has the wax and the wick. It also has two different types of fragrance, and you'll see that the volume of wax is calculated based on the length and diameter of the candle. Okay, so we've already got the wax defined and we've already got the wick defined, so we need to add the lavender and rose fragrance, and we can see here that it comes in 10 milliliter bottles, so let's add that. Lavender fragrance, 5 days, each costs €5, contains 10 milliliters. Each unit costs 5, 10 milliliters. Okay, so here's the lavender and the rose here. Now we need to add the customizable candle, and you can see that the variables are length and diameter, and the options are lavender and rose. So we go to inventory, definitions, add definition, name, customizable candle, category. Candle making, again, it's the same process. Is it for sale? Yes, it is. The variables are length and diameter. So first off, length. When you leave the value of a variable blank, then the system will ask you to input the value when you're ordering a component made from that definition or using this component as a subcomponent. So I'll leave the value of length blank, and the unit is centimeters. Add that variable, and let's add the other variable, which is diameter, and it's the same again. We're going to leave it blank, and it's centimeters again. And now we're going to add another variable. This one is a multi-select variable, which means that you get options. So fragrance, rose, and you separate the different options of a comma. Rose and lavender is multi-select, yes. Submit. So you can see here that the variables are length, diameter, neither of which have a value, and there's fragrance. You can choose between rose and lavender. Okay, so let's add the subcomponents. So let's first add the wax. So wax, the name of it's wax, I'm not going to change that. For weight of wax, I went on to Google and I typed in volume of a cylinder, and it gave me this formula, and I just substituted the words diameter and length where appropriate, and this Factory Superstar will use this to calculate the weight in kilograms of wax required for a cylinder of length and diameter specified by the user. So I'm going to add that. The wick again, so add the wick. It's for all fragrances. The length, so previously we just said it was 6 centimeters, but in this case I'm just going to say it's length plus 1 centimeter. So if the candle is 5 centimeters long, then we want the wick to be the entire length of the candle plus, let's say, 1 centimeter for the bit that sticks out the top of the candle that you light. So length plus 1. Okay, so we have the wax and the wick. I'm now going to add the fragrance. So first off, I'll add the lavender fragrance. So we only want this lavender fragrance to apply when the candle fragrance is lavender. So select lavender. For the volume, the formula is similar to the volume of wax, but it's a much smaller fraction. So I think it works out as 1% fragrance by volume. So that's what this formula does. So I'll submit that. And then I'm going to do the same for the rose fragrance. So when fragrance is rose, we want the volume to be the same proportion as the lavender. So you can see here that we have defined it by these variables. So I'm going to add the production order now. So one candle, customizable candle, we're going to say again it's due in 2 weeks. And we're going to say the length is 10 centimeters and the diameter 5 centimeters, and the fragrance we will choose as rose. And remember that the system asks you to specify these because we left the variables in the definition blank. So we'll click that submit, and you can see here that here's one production order for a customizable candle, length 10, diameter 5, fragrance rose, due in 14 days. Let's click here on the subcomponents drop down, and you can see that it's taken the variables, it's calculated the weight of wax required, and it's determined that we do have this in stock. It's calculated the length of the wick required, again it's in stock, it's green, and it's calculated the volume of the rose fragrance required, 0.2 milliliters. The rose fragrance isn't in stock, that's red. So before the system can tell the operator to make the candle, we need to get this rose fragrance in stock. So let's do that. Here's the rose fragrance here, and we can see that this is the net quantity is red. It has a net quantity is negative 0.02. So I'm going to order one in this instance. So I'm going to add to reorder. Here I'm going to specify how much it costs. It's £5 including tax. Ordering one from Amazon. We'll go next. When is it due? It is due in 1 week time. Okay, we'll submit that. Total is €6. €6. So it takes me to the purchase order screen. 7 days have lapsed. Let's pretend. I'm going to click mark arrived. Now we go to the inventory, and we can see that we have 0.98 net in stock. Now when I go to production order and I click this drop down button, green, 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 and the candle is now yellow, which means when we go to the candle making process, it will tell us to make one candle of length 10, diameter 5, fragrance rose using 0.17 kilograms wax, 11 centimeters wick, and 0.2 ml rose fragrance. And again, our operator knows what he's doing, and when he's completed, he clicks the green button and the system updates accordingly. Now the advantage, you remember that this time I added the purchase order for the rose fragrance. The advantage of that is that the costs in the system update, so it knows that we ordered one of these from Amazon. It took X amount of time to arrive, and if we added a shipping cost here, it would calculate the cost of goods to include shipping, so it's a more accurate time and cost estimation.